Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Martin, and I'm here with Allison Flero from Dialog Insight, and we'd like to welcome you to our new features webinar this afternoon. If you have questions, please go ahead and enter them in the chat window, and we'll address them near the end of the webinar. We're recording today, so you will receive a link to the webinar when we're finished. Feel free to distribute this or share it with others who might be interested. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to review the Web Interceptor, some new forms technology, and of course our new SMS module, which allows you to send text messages in the same way that we can send emails. So we're going to start off things with the Web Interceptor. Web interceptors are tools you can use to present material when the recipient is positively inclined to consider it. This means it's a little bit different from an email because you send an email according to your own schedule. But a web interceptor is when somebody's interested in what's on your website and you have an opportunity to approach them with something proactive when they're inclined to receive it. It's not all that different from a store clerk stopping to say, you know, can I help you, sir, when somebody walks into the shop. Our intercept technology is just that. It's a polite and charming way to present your clients with other options to engage with you when they're on your site and you're already on their mind. So here to show you a little bit more of how we put that into the platform is our relational marketing expert, Allison Flero.
Thanks, John. So as you were saying, the Web Interceptor pops up over the web page and prompts a user to take an action. So let's take a look at how to configure the Interceptor in the platform. In order to make the Web Interceptor work, you must first have the Journey module enabled in your project. The Journey module allows the Dialog Insight platform to follow visits on your website. For those who are familiar with Google Analytics, it's the same principle. Once Journey's in place, we can install the Web Interceptor. So if you don't have Journey in place, you can call your account manager or project manager and they will be able to help you. The configuration for Journey is done under Configuration, Contacts, and Journey. So we need to identify which website we want to follow. In this example, it's just a temporary site. The system then gives you a script to install on your website. When the contacts from your list visit your site, their visit is captured. It's really a prerequisite to get the Web Interceptor working because it's what allows us to make the connection between your website and the system. If it's not in place, we won't be able to capture the journey and act on it. That's why it's critical to integrate the code on your site. Once the code has been placed on all of your web pages, we can go to Workflows, Interceptor, and set up one or more interceptors by clicking on Create an Interceptor here. You can see I have 2 interceptors in place, so let's take a look at the English one. An interceptor can be displayed anywhere on your website or be limited to a specific section or even page, so entire website or limited. For example, if we have an e-commerce site, we want to display on all pages except maybe the cart page. So we tell the system to only display on certain pages, so I'm going to select limited and then tell them which pages I want the interceptor to display on. Then we need to specify when the interceptor should occur or when the intercept should occur. After X amount of pages, viewed pages, or after so many minutes on the website. After that, we specify the type of visitor we wish to intercept, so known visitors or unknown visitors. And last for this section is to specify how many times the interceptor should be displayed. Only once, or how many times per, and it can be per day, week, month, year, or visit.
One strategy for determining some of the interceptor configuration is to check the average amount of time people spend on your site and get a little bit familiar with, how they visited pages, how they go from page to page. And the example is if people visit multiple pages, you may want to put the interceptor on every second or third page. But on the other hand, if you have a landing page for a specific product, maybe it's for an event or something with more detail on it that people are going to visit once, then you may want to put that in the interceptor on that page so that people don't have to go to multiple pages. People that are unlikely to go to multiple pages, will go past without seeing your other message or your other opportunity there. You do want to be charming and polite, not too overwhelming or aggressive. So be careful how many pages you put it on, so that you don't look like you're hovering over all of your clients.
Right. So once we set up the rules, we can move on to content. So the navigation up at the top of the page, I'm going to click on content. The interceptor asks the contact to take an action. So we need to decide what action we want them to take. There are 3 options that are connected to other Dialog Insight modules, and a 4th that gives you virtually unlimited flexibility. The first is events, then contests, and surveys. And then the last option is redirection, and that's what we're going to show in this example today. So in this case, it's a redirection to a website. So when the contact clicks on the link, they are redirected to a specific page, and I just have to put the URL of that page right here.
We're looking at ways, or we're continuing to develop this technology to include more functionality in the interceptor, like including a sign-up capability, directly in the intercept form. So stay tuned for more information there. Okay,
so once I have my action in place, I can go to the edit screen. And here's where we can edit the visual with an easy-to-use drag-and-drop editor. You can see in our example that we have a logo, some text, and a button. Quite simple. We just need to select the block from the left-hand side and drag it over to the right, just like our drag-and-drop email editor. Once we have the layout defined, then we can go to Publish and test it before it goes online. So I just click the test button, and it's going to open the website that I have set up in the Journey module, and it shows me how the interceptor is going to look above the page. So I could either click the action button or the X to close. So now that everything's set up and tested, I can go ahead and set the publish date for my interceptor. So I can decide when I want it to start and end, and click on Publish. When the interceptor is published, there are some statistics that will also be available. We can see how many times the interceptor was displayed and how many times the contacts clicked on the action button or the X to close the interceptor. And I think that's it for the interceptor. You can make as many as you want, but just be careful you don't make too many.
Yeah, and just a couple tips. When you create the interceptor, one way to gauge the success of an interceptor is to take note of your current hit rate when it comes to things like people filling out a survey or registering for other actions on your page. If you know what your current rate is for that, and then you implement an interceptor to drive clients to a specific page or to ask them to perform a function like filling out the survey, you can see how the results will increase based on the use of the interceptor. So go ahead and get started and let us know how you make out, and feel free to discuss any ideas with your account manager here. Next, we're going to move on to the forms functionality. Forms are a way to get users and contacts to interact with your marketing platform. Common things like signing up for your newsletter or agreeing to join your list. This sounds really good, but it can often get complex when it comes to data security and data management. What happens when the same user signs up over and over again? Our team is always available to help you with these questions and determine the right course of action. But in the meantime, we've launched this new forms functionality that puts more of these decisions right at your fingertips, at least for the basic forms that we offer in the platform. So you can now decide how the data entered into a form will interact with your marketing database. These new forms are unlimited, and they're already included in your account.
That's right, John. So let's take a look at the new opt-in and update forms. Again, we go to Workflows, and this time opt-in and update. With this new section, we can make forms that are hosted on the Dialog Insight platform, as well as forms where you can copy the code and host it on your own website. We'll take a look at both. I also wanted to point out that these forms are responsive. So let's start with the form hosted on Dialog Insight. For those that know how the contest and events modules work, the process is the same. First, we see that there's an option to preview. Then we have the opt-in form, and then the confirmation page, and we can also include a welcome message by checking this box. So let's go ahead and click on the opt-in form. And again, it's the same drag and drop editor, so I just have to drag the different blocks from the left and place them where I want in the right. I can also change the style for the whole page by clicking on this edit button here, and I can change the styles as well as put my own custom CSS if I have one. And I can also click on each pencil and edit those individually, those blocks individually if I want. So these are the fields on my form. Let's go and see how I can add fields there. So I just go and click on Form Configuration. Now the first thing I need to do is decide what the information what the form is going to do with the information for the contacts that are already in the database. Do I simply want to complete the profiles? So complete the empty fields with the information they provided on the form. Do I want to replace all the data in the database with the info provided on the form? Or do I want to ignore the info they put on the form and just subscribe the contact? Secondly, I can decide if I want the form labels to display at the left, above the field, or inside the fields. And do I want a CAPTCHA on my form? Then below that, I can add the different fields and subscriptions that I would like the contact to complete. All you have to do is click Add a Field, and then select from the options the fields that are already in my project. Once all the decisions are made, I can come back and edit to the edit screen and click on Preview to see my form. So this is what my form is going to look like. If you're happy with that, you can click on Publish. This button, the form is already published, so it says Unpublished, but when you click Publish, it gives you a link. And this link can be added in your emails, or even you can put it on an Interceptor to redirect people to subscribe.
This is a more visual editor for your forms, and it gives you a lot of flexibility when dealing with your acquisition strategies.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the form that can be hosted on your website. The process is pretty much the same. You have the preview, you have the form, the confirmation page, and the welcome message. The difference is that when you click on the form, you're not going to have the drag and drop editor. It's going to give you the code that you can paste on your website. It's similar to the old way of making forms. that you've probably already used. We define the same type of parameters. Then there's a preview, which is basically just the skeleton of the form. And then the implementation section gives you the code that you can place on your website.
There are certain clients, we have lots of different types of clients, some that have control over their websites and other marketing departments that don't. So these new form technology we have gives you some choices there to pick the forms that are right for you. If you do have control over your website, then you can put your own hosting and your own visual, and you can have full control over that. If you'd rather use forms behind a link with something like the Interceptor, or putting a link on your page or including a link in your emails, then you can feel free to use the forms that we host on our site. So you have the ability to pick the form technology that's right for you.
So those are the opt-in forms, but it's the same thing if you want to make a profile update form. In this case, the system gives you a link that can be added in your email so the contact can access their profile, which is pre-filled with their information, and they can update their profile. The profile forms allow us to complete profiles so we can better communicate with our contacts. For example, if we need phone number, postal code, or language to be able to better personalize our messages.
Yeah, like Allison mentioned, the profile update forms gives you more of an opportunity to extend the information in your database. This allows you to keep the opt-in form very simple, perhaps as simple as name and email address. And then later on, you can ask your contact for more information with the profile update. So this becomes a 2- or 3-stage process, and it allows you to collect a little bit of information or more information on your contacts over time. If you do ask for more information, don't forget to offer something in return. Perhaps a coupon, a discount, maybe a free white paper or a contest. Anything you can offer your contacts will give you better results, when you ask for more information.
Right, so I also wanted to mention that your existing forms are still available, but any new ones you make, we would like you to use the new opt-in and update technology.
Okay, moving on. That brings us to the SMS functionality. I think this is the one that everybody's been waiting to hear about. SMS messages are very interesting. They need to be quite short, but they have the benefit of being read virtually instantly and in real time. So this makes them very, very useful for things like confirmations and alerts. There are a few things to note in how the channel works. This is a different channel after all, and there's some costs involved depending on how you need to work with your carrier and that sort of thing, or the client's carriers. But your account managers at Dialog Insight are here to help you with all of that. So what we'd like to do is review how we've implemented this in the platform and maybe make you aware of a few user interface changes that you're going to see as you go forward with this.
So the new SMS function can be found in Messages, SMS. It works in a similar way as the email, but in this case you need to know the contact's phone number. So I'll go ahead and open up my example. And you can see that the editor is similar to the message editor, but in this case it's plain text and everything is on one page, including the preview over here on the right. At the top of the screen we see the From field. By default it's going to be the phone number set in the account. However, you can change the From field to text, but it's not supported in North America. So if you scroll over the little question mark, it'll give you a little bit of information about that. Okay, so you need to type your message into this section. You can see it's plain text, but it can handle personalization and conditional content. The first condition in my message is the personalization for the greeting using the gender and the name for the greeting. Then I just have a line of plain text, and then I have some conditional content based on the province, so Quebec or Ontario. You can see if they're from Quebec, they see the contact info for the Quebec office, and then if the profile is in Ontario, they see the contact information for the Ontario office. It's easy to add personalization with the customization and dynamic content editor on the left-hand side of the screen here. So you don't need to remember how to code the conditions. It is actually the same syntax that is used for emails though. Now, like I said, the preview is on the right-hand side of the screen, but if I go to the Review tab up here, I can see how the message will appear for different contacts based on their profile. So you can see this contact is in Ontario. So it's saying, hi, Mr. Flero, and here's, please contact our Ontario office. This next contact doesn't have a province listed, so we left out the information about the contacting the province, the office. Now, just like email, I can send myself a test by entering a phone number here and clicking on send. I did this earlier and I received the test in less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, for tests, the interface is really quite simple. There are less elements to control in an SMS than there is in an email. But as you can see through the interface, pre-visualization of what's going to go out to your clients is always a good idea. So take a look at the preview, test the personalizations by scrolling up and down in your contact list, and you'll get an idea on what your clients will see.
Now, the other element that is important to mention is if you use special characters or if you use a lot of text, it can impact your message. You can see in the SMS analysis box here, the system lets you know approximately how many text messages the contact will receive so they see your complete message. So it's telling me how many characters are in my message, and it's telling me that it will be fragmented into between 1 and 2 messages. So then once it's been tested, we can proceed to the send. So up at the top, just like sending a message, you need to decide if you're sending to all the contacts or one or more groups. Then you can tell the system how to handle contacts with the same phone number by sending to each contact or limiting to 1 copy of the SMS per SMS number. And then of course telling it when you want it to be sent. Results for SMS can be found in Results, SMS. And we don't have any examples yet, but you will be able to see the total sent and the errors. And if you want to start putting this in place, please contact your account director or project manager because there are some questions that they will need to ask you before we can get started.
Yeah, that's right. Dialog Insight will help you with your SMS setup. We want to make sure you get it done, properly, and there's a few things to note, including the setup for a number to send and receive your messages from, or send your messages and receive replies back. We have local numbers available for over 70 countries, I'm sorry. So we'll be able to help you with, with a phone number from your jurisdiction if that's your preference. As well, I guess it's important to note that different countries around the world have different dialing rules. Here in North America, we're fortunate that North America wide we have similar dialing rules that make this relatively easy. But if your contact base, if your customer base is global, then our SMS tools include the ability to reconcile location with the proper dialing method. So we can help you with a lot of things when it comes to SMS. Finally, you're going to need to put some rules or placeholders and fields in your platform for what to do with the replies. That's easy to do, and we're here to help.
Right, like John said, we can manage the replies. So for example, we have a client that uses this for confirming appointments. So if someone replies yes or okay, our system can take the reply and send alerts to an admin contact by email to manage the predefined replies. But the rules do need to be set in the system so we can manage the replies properly. So that's all for SMS. Don't forget you can put some questions in the chat menu. I think I do see some here. First question, is it possible to use relational tables with SMS?
Yes, you go ahead and use your relational tables the same way you have before for things like segmentation and picking your groups and deciding who to send to. So yes, you can.
Okay, next question. Is it possible to put a link to a form in an SMS?
Yes, you have to put the complete URL in the message, and then the web server would navigate to that page, when it's selected or clicked on.
Okay. Does the SMS need to abide by C28?
Yes, absolutely. SMS is still a commercial electronic communication, and that means that you need permission from the contact in order to send it out. That's the Canadian Castle law or Canadian anti-spam law. So we have ways of recording that for you in the platform, and are happy to do that. But yes, absolutely, it needs to comply with C28, at least here in Canada.
And is it possible to unsubscribe from an SMS?
Absolutely. That's one of the tools that we can help you with when it comes to managing the replies from an SMS. So you can indicate a simple numeric value or a simple text value of yes or no for, do people want to, opt out of your messages. So you do need to set it up to deal with the reply if that's the way you're going to record opt-outs. But, we can help you with that.
Okay, and what can we put as content in an SMS?
Well, content in an SMS is pretty much unlimited, but there is the realities of the channel, or the realities of the communication type. I mean, basically, the shorter an SMS message is, the better the results will be. If you put a very long message, as you've already seen, it's going to be broken up, into several, text messages, and that's going to get very cumbersome very quickly. So the shorter you make the message, the better your results will be with SMS.
Okay, the next question is actually about interceptors. How does the interceptor recognize a contact?
The contacts in the marketing database get sent emails, and throughout that process, we send and they receive and click on emails, there are cookies that are loaded that are used to recognize users electronically when they come back to your website. So we use that same technology to make a bridge between your website and the marketing platform. This is why the Journey module needs to be implemented on your platform in order to help you recognize or at least identify the users as somebody that's already in your platform or perhaps a new contact. So short answer is we use cookies to do that.
And is it possible to configure the interceptor in a secure site?
Yes, it is, as long as that site is accessible from an external source. And that's because the script ultimately comes from our site, so there needs to be some access there.
Okay, and the next question is actually about forms. With the forms, can you add info in the relational tables?
Not currently. We do have technology through our workflow and custom development tools that can help you do that. But at the moment, the user accessible forms will update the contact profile. We are looking to expand that, of course, so stay tuned for more information. But right now, it's a way of you creating a new contact or perhaps updating a contact that is already there.
Okay, and I did miss one question about interceptors, I believe. It says, would you use this to redirect to an opt-in form or page?
And absolutely, you can put the links directly in the interceptor to make that easy, and as part of the redirect that can go either to an opt-in form that you host on your site or it could go to an opt-in form hosted on our site. So that's actually one of the primary reasons to use an interceptor, is to help drive your contact acquisition through that kind of strategy.
Okay, so that was the last question.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for your time this afternoon. We're not finished, in that if you have additional questions, just reach out to Allison and I. Our contact information is on the screen there, or reach out to your account director at Dialog Insight, and we'd be happy to help you with questions on this, and get things like the SMS tools set up, and make that as part of your marketing strategy. So thank you for your time today, and have a good afternoon.